chess king in pajama pants crashed because of a cafeteria coffee trick, and the whole room watched genius fall off his throne. In Osaka, 11-year-old Kaito Ngu lived above a pawn shop with fading gold letters and windows stitched by rain. The apartment's ceiling sweated in summer. The stairwell smelled like old metal, and every flat surface held chessboards, notebooks, and deadlines. Kaito solved tactical puzzles faster than adults finished blinking, stacking tournament medals beside instant ramen cups and homework sheets. His mind was so precise that people whispered he didn't play chess, he simply downloaded the right move. Win after win turned his name into neighborhood folklore, and perfection wrapped around him like armor that looked beautiful and felt heavy. Then came the local championship, bright with folding chairs, glossy boards, and parents leaning forward like judges at a tiny trial. Kaito carved through every round flawlessly, each victory clean and cold, until the final table glowed like a stage. Across from him sat a nervous beginner who had practiced with Kaito's little sister between cafeteria trays and spilled coffee rings. Her scrappy opening looked ridiculous on paper, all awkward pressure and odd timing, the kind polished players dismiss before danger fully forms. Kaito smirked at the board, moved too fast, and stepped into a beginner's blunder, so simple it looked fake. Silence landed first, then gasps, then the cruel electricity of public embarrassment crawling up his neck like fever. His perfect run shattered under fluorescent lights, and the genius everyone praised suddenly looked like a child caught pretending. The winner held the trophy with shaking hands, while Kaito stared at one square as if it had betrayed him. Back home, the rain tapped the apartment windows, and the closed sign downstairs swung over the pawn shop like a tired warning. Kaito lined up his medals on the floor, but for the first time they looked less like proof and more like pressure. He replayed the blunder all night, seeing not just one bad move, but the fear hidden underneath every perfect score. He realized he had never learned how to lose, only how to protect the image of never losing. That made every game brittle, because one crack could suddenly expose how frightened he really was. So Kaito designed a strange training plan that looked less like genius work and more like controlled chaos. He took tactical worksheets onto Osaka's loudest subway line, solving forks and pins while brakes screamed and strangers bumped his elbows. At first, the noise shredded his focus, and easy positions blurred into mistakes that made his ears burn. Instead of erasing those errors, he circled each one in red and wrote exactly what distracted him beside it. He noticed patterns immediately. Panic made him rush, embarrassment made him guess, and surprise made him abandon simple moves for flashy ones. Then he practiced with one eye closed, forcing depth and balance to feel wrong, while his brain begged for comfort. Pieces seemed warped, diagonals felt slippery, and every move asked him to tolerate uncertainty without grabbing for perfection. He started setting a kitchen timer shorter than he liked, training himself to think clearly before fear could demand guarantees. He also left his favorite robot clock unscrewed on the desk, its crooked tick-tock punching the room every second. The tiny mechanical irritation drove him crazy, but it also became a metronome for staying calm inside discomfort. Whenever he wanted to tighten everything back into neat silence, he kept the clock loose and made the move anyway. Kaito even built positions where he was already losing, then searched not for rescue fantasies, but for the best next move available. That practice changed his posture, because a losing board no longer felt like a verdict on his worth. It became information, something to read carefully instead of a storm to outrun. At dinner, while rice steamed between chipped bowls, his little sister watched him scribble notes beside every mistake. She noticed he no longer ripped pages out when he failed a problem, and that small change felt bigger than trophies. Kaito created 3 columns in his notebook labeled "What Happened," "What I Felt," and "What I'll Try Next." The first column kept him honest, the second made his fear visible, and the third turned pain into a plan. One page read that he rushed because he wanted to look brilliant, then promised to check one ordinary move before any clever one. Another page admitted that humiliation made his chest lock up, then prescribed one slow breath and a full board scan. These weren't motivational posters or magical secrets, just practical drills that gave failure somewhere useful to go. Weeks passed, and the pawn shop downstairs edged closer to closing, its display thinning to lonely watches and dusty cameras. Above that fading storefront, Kaito quietly rebuilt himself through tiny, ugly sessions nobody would have called inspiring. He lost speed, then regained it with more control. He lost confidence, then replaced it with steadier trust. Most importantly, he lost the need to appear untouchable. When he returned to competition, he still wanted to win, but the wanting no longer strangled his hands. In the next match, a lower-rated player launched another messy attack, the kind Kaito once treated like an insult. Mid-game, Kaito miscalculated a simple sequence and dropped material in front of everyone, a clear, undeniable mistake. The old version of him would have frozen behind a blank face, trying to hide the crack before anyone noticed. This time, he felt the heat rise, heard the noisy room blur, and then remembered the subway, the clock, the one-eyed boards. He sat back, breathed once, and to his own surprise, laughed softly at the absurdity of being human in public. It was not mocking laughter or quitting laughter, but the clean laugh of someone no longer shocked by imperfection. That tiny laugh broke the spell. His shoulders lowered, his vision widened. The board stopped looking like a courtroom and started looking like a puzzle again. Kaito found the strongest practical defense, then another, then a stubborn resource hidden beneath the damage his ego almost exaggerated. He did not save that game. He lost it fully, shook hands, and walked away with a calmer heartbeat than after many wins. Outside, evening rain glossed the sidewalk black, and he realized the loss had taught him more than his flawless run ever had. It taught him where his attention collapsed, what pressure did to his body, and how quickly shame tried to rewrite reality. Because he stayed present instead of panicking, he could actually study the lesson while it was still warm. In the weeks after, his rating climbed again, but now it rested on something sturdier than talent alone. He was no longer a child prodigy, balancing on perfect scores like glass steps above a hard floor. He was a learner who could enter chaos, make one honest move, and keep going after the position turned ugly. Eventually, Kaito won another tournament, not with spotless brilliance, but with patience, sharpened by mistakes he had finally stopped hiding from. The trophy looked nice on the shelf, yet the real prize was invisible. He no longer feared the moment things went wrong. If you want to steal his method, start by recording one recent mistake with brutal accuracy instead of a dramatic story. Next, write the feeling that arrived first, because unnamed emotions drive more bad decisions than lack of skill ever does. Then choose one tiny adjustment for your next attempt, small enough to remember when your pulse starts pounding. Practice that adjustment in inconvenient conditions, because calm built only in comfort collapses the second real pressure enters. Leave one harmless annoyance unsolved while you work, so your brain learns that discomfort does not mean danger. And when the next blunder hits, do not race to defend your image. Study the board, your breath, and the lesson hiding inside the bruise. Kaito discovered that perfection can win applause, but failure, faced honestly, can actually build a person strong enough to keep learning.